All right, good afternoon, traders. It is July 30th, 2025. My name is John Carignan. I am the lead instructor here at the BYOB Trading Room. Thank you for being here. All right, we're going to go over my charts today. How I lost, well, it looks like I lost 130K today. Made 160 yesterday, and I lost 130 today. All right, let's take a peek at what happened and where we made money and where we lost money. All right, so on the market here, I traded some, we'll go through it. I traded some 0 DTE, 639 calls. We'll go through those. You can see I bought the lows of the consolidation over and sold the highs. Bought the lows and sold the highs. That's it. Bought some 2 days till expiration, 650 calls. All right, and again did the same thing. Bought the lows and sold the highs. Okay, on those. On the 638 calls, 0 days till expiration, made 5K on those. All right, so 5K on those right there, those 638 calls. Okay, so again, buying the lows and selling the highs. All right, got some peaks, got some valleys, bought the lows, sold the highs. Okay, on some 636 calls, all right, 0 days till expiration. All right, made 2,700 on those, buying the lows and selling the highs of those candles right there. Okay, you can see price on the 5-minute goes under VWAP, over VWAP, over VWAP, under VWAP, over, and then under, and now all the way back up again. Okay, so that's where we are with price action for that. And as you can see, I'm not really terribly hurt by it. I'm already up 120K right now in the post market, as long as those highs hold right there. Okay, I'm already up, well up over everything I lost and more, all right, based on the price action that we see in front of us. Okay, so let's go back over here. Okay, made $300 on some 640 calls, 2 days till expiration. Again, bought the lows and sold the highs. Another one, 630 puts, made $100 on those, sold the high and bought the low right there because we sold it high, covered on the low. Price action for 650 calls, 37 days till expiration, made $67 on some lower, longer term options right there, 67. Again, buying the lows and selling the highs and reloading right there. Okay, same thing for these 650, 30 days till expiration calls, same deal there. 650, 23 days till expiration, again, same deal there, $27 from those. And $18 for these 650 calls right here, 16 days till expiration. Okay, so let's move this over and you can see where the losses came in. 20K, lost 20K on these 643 1 DTE calls. You can see I'm already back up over whatever I lost right there. Actually, if you add the two of those together, this erases all of the losses from these 643 calls and from these 645 calls right there that were 0 days till expiration. Lost 170K on those. Okay, so that's it. That's how it did. Okay, so price action did nothing but move back and forth over VWAP. We had FOMC, which made the day very, very volatile. All right, very volatile on the day. And then we had a presser afterwards, and then we had earnings coming in late in the evening. We'll see how those earnings hold up. Right now, the account is looking fantastic. I'm up 363, 362 plus the 64. Count is looking fantastic. We'll see how it opens, okay? Again, this is just kind of premature right here, right now. Okay, so there's price action for SPY and QQQ. So into the close on the 10-minute chart, okay? We got a week, one candle. All right, we got a one candle uptrend coming into the close. All right, a week. Okay, you can see it right there. Not even a one candle close. It's just a pinch right here on the 10-minute chart. Okay, you got a 10-minute downtrend. You can see that originated up here, and that was right after 2:30. 10-minute downtrend, and now you can see we don't even have an uptrend, but it looks like it's the beginning of an uptrend. You can see as price rockets back to 638. Okay, so there's price action right there. All right, on those. All right, let's take a look at what else we want to look at. 2-hour chart. Okay, 2-hour chart. We still have a 2-hour downtrend coming into the close. What it looks like in the pre-market. 2-hour uptrend with a one candle right there on the pre-market. Okay. And we got on the daily chart, you can see we've got a lower high, lower low. Closing, looks like we're going to close over the bullish trap, over the rising 17 EMA. SPY still in an uptrend up there. Daily still in an uptrend. Weekly still in an uptrend. Monthly still in an uptrend. 2-hour and 10-minute we're not in uptrends. Okay, my favorite chart is the 10-minute uptrend over VWAP that's inside the 2-hour uptrend, that's inside the daily uptrend, that's inside the weekly uptrend, that's inside the monthly uptrend. Okay, that's my favorite chart. All right, for right there, inside of all of those. That's my preferable chart. 10-minute uptrend over VWAP. All right, inside of all of those. Okay, over VWAP. 10-minute uptrend. All right, got all the wind in my sails, pushing price forward for me. Okay, let's take a look at QQQ on the daily chart. Don't know where it's going to close. Here's a high, 672.11. Here's a high, 672.36. Got an outside day, higher high, lower low. Closing over, now it's an all-time high. All right, can't say anything more about it. All right, that's an all-time high if that's where it closes up there. All right, 672.36. All right, that's a new all-time high for QQQ. Let's take a look at FNGU. Same thing on FNGU. New all-time high for FNGU. All right, let's take a look at IWM. All right, IWM, a little bit different here. Lower high, lower low, closing underneath a bearish trap, underneath the 17 EMA. All right, still in an uptrend. We have not broken this low. So that's still bullish and still in an uptrend right there. Let me take these pivots off. Actually, just kind of fade them out. Okay, so there's price action for those. Let's take a look at Diamond Dow. Diamond Dow got a lower high and a lower low, closing under a bearish cross or under the bullish trap, but over the rising 17 and up over the trend, the all-time high anchored VWAP right here. Again, at the top of quadrant 4, that's bullish. Notice price up here, bullish, holding the higher ground on Diamond Dow. IWM, okay, still in the upper third up here. That's still bullish. As long as it stays in the upper third, that's still bullish and in an uptrend. Okay, so you got it SPY, FNGU, QQQ, okay, all making new all-time highs. All right, that's bullish, and they're all bullish and in uptrends. Okay, new all-time highs. Okay, you got IWM bullish and in an uptrend. All right, you got Diamond Dow bullish and in an uptrend. All right, so we'll see what happens here tomorrow. Let's take a look at our technicals, T2122. Well, for today on the 15-minute chart, we chomped around between the sell zone and the chop zone, all right? And then we finally made an appearance at the end of the day into the sell zone and tried to retrace back to the seller's chop zone. Okay, on T2123, Okay, you can see, did we put in a new all-time, new high, new rally high? No, we did not. Okay, so a little bit of trading back and forth, bulls, bears, bulls, bears, bulls, and then whatever statement they gave us there. Again, coming down to the 200 SMA and closing up on top of that 200 SMA right there, okay? So 15 minute, according to this chart, is in a downtrend because here's a low and they made a lower low. So 15 minutes in a downtrend. They've been in downtrends before and they've fought themselves out of it. So there's T2123 on the 15-minute chart in a downtrend, but closing up over that 200 SMA on the 3-bar chart. Okay, we're still in an uptrend. We'd have to take out this low to negate the uptrend. All right, that low way down there. That's the first one that peaks below or valleys below the 17 EMA. Price action still up and holding the higher ground up here. Price action still up over the hooking 200 SMA. That's still bullish. FNGU, of course, new all-time highs. Okay, doesn't get any better than that. Again, holding the higher ground and then spiking off today. You got a little launch or liftoff right there, okay, on FNGU. Let's take a look at few sectors. Start off with XLE. All right, here's XLE. And we'll look at it on the daily chart. All right, you can see we've got a W pattern setting up. Okay, we've got a series of higher lows. All right, and we got a high there, and we're still working on getting a higher high right here. All right, so price action is in an uptrend. All right, price action is neutral, okay, because it's no longer in the upper third, no longer in the lower third. Okay, so when it's down here, that's bearish. When it's up here, that's bullish. Okay, so down here, bearish. Up here, bullish. Okay, price action right here in the neutral territory so that you can see price goes up, down, down. So this is neutral right through here. You can see price action has a habit of moving up and giving it up multiple times. Moving up, giving it up. Moving up and giving it up. Okay, so there's XLE. Okay, that is neutral and in an uptrend. Okay, let's take that off. Let's go take a look at UNG. All right, there's UNG. UNG is in a downtrend. UNG has a triple top crown right there. That's the head. We got a right shoulder with 2 lower highs. Okay, got a left shoulder with 2 lower highs. Okay, and then we've got a neckline that shoots right about through there. And you can see price action failed to make hold over the neckline. All right, so hence they're coming down. And you can see price action today produces a lower high and a lower low, closing below the bearish trap underneath the 17. Down here in quadrant 1, that's bearish and in a downtrend. Okay, price action got a series of lower highs and lower lows. Okay, you can see here's a high, there's a lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, and a lower high right there. And lower lows. We have a low, 4 lows, low, 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 and a new rally low right there. Okay, so this is a downturn rally. Okay, so price action all the way down here in quadrant 1, that is bearish. Okay, quadrant 1 is bearish. All right, and it's in a downtrend. All right, so there's UNG. Let's take a look at USO. All right, USO putting in a higher low and a higher high. All right, closing over the bullish trap up here in quadrant 4. That is bullish up there. Producing higher lows and higher highs. That's bullish and still in an uptrend right there on USO. Let's take a look at GLD. All right, GLD breaking below the low here. All right, so well, we'll call this the low right here. They did break this low. GLD kind of well in a downtrend because they broke that low right there. They made a lower low. So GLD in a downtrend, but let's face it, price action, all right, is moving up, all right, and holding the higher ground. Okay, it's moving up, goes up and over to the right. That's show of strength. So consolidating up here at the top of quadrant 4. That's bullish up there. Okay, top of quadrant 4. That is bullish on GLD. And in a downtrend because they made a lower low right there. Okay, let's take a look at SLV. All right, SLV, lower high, lower low, closing underneath the bearish trap, underneath the 17. Both of those are bearish, but we're up here in quadrant 4. That's bullish. So SLV coming back and testing minor support right here. Okay, notice the minor support right there. Come back, looking for this to J hook out of here and make a higher high. Okay, so there's silver pulling back to minor support. Let's hope minor support holds right through here. Okay, so there's on the daily chart. You got a series of higher lows and higher highs. There's a low. There's a couple of higher lows. Another higher low. And again, another higher low right there. They have to come all the way down here and take out this low right there in order to negate the uptrend that they're in and convert the downtrend. Okay, so currently they got highs, higher high, higher high, high, and higher high. So they're still in an uptrend until they take out that low right there. Okay, so there's silver. That's bullish and in an uptrend. Gold, bullish, but in a daily downtrend, but not moving down in a fierce manner. It's still holding that quadrant 4 up there. Okay, let's take a look at SMH. All right. And on SMH, what do we got here? Yeah, we got some daylight. Okay, new all-time high on SMH. Okay, that's bullish. And in an uptrend, it doesn't get any better than that. All right? Doesn't get any better. New all-time high for SMH. XLK. Okay, lower high, lower low. Closing over a bullish trap, over the 17. Top of quadrant 4. You can see the pre-market up here making new all-time highs over here in the post-market. So that is bullish and still in an uptrend. XLF. Okay, got a lower high and a lower low, closing underneath a bullish trap or a bearish cross, but over the rising 17. Still bullish, holding the higher ground. Again, consolidation over prior consolidation is a bullish environment. That's a bullish behavior, okay? That's a bullish characteristic, okay? So you got consolidation, and now you can see you've got consolidation on top of that, okay? That is a bullish behavior right there. Okay, they're in an uptrend. If they take out this low right here, okay, if they take out that low, they will negate the uptrend and convert the downtrend. Right now, they're bullish and in an uptrend. All right, that's XLF. Let's take a look at IYT. All right, IYT still, well, no longer in the upper third, okay? Kind of didn't make the cut today, all right? They were close yesterday. Today they kind of lost it. I would call the cut right there. And you can see they closed underneath that, okay? So not in the upper third. Upper third would have been bullish, so they're just neutral, all right? Now they could put in the higher low, bounce off of minor support, and J-hook back up in here. We'll see what happens. So there's IYT on the daily chart. Okay, they are neutral, all right, but still in a downtrend because they made here's a low here, they made a lower low. So neutral and in a downtrend on the transports right here. All right, so I'll take some questions in the room. Other than that, I'm going to call it a day. Let's see what we got for questions. Thanks, Bob, for sharing your charts. To finish up for the day. Congratulations. Sharon finished up for the day. Way to go, Sharon. Mel made 400 on some SPY calls off the bottom. Congratulations, Mel. All right. Alan shared Meta reported 7.4 versus probably billions. All right. 7.14 billion versus 5.92 billion. Oh, earnings per share, $7.14 per share. versus expected $5.92 per share. So huge, huge. Well, I'm just going to say nice for Meta. Revenue was 47.5 billion versus 40. Just going to call it 45 billion expected. Okay, so they've increased their revenue, and this is a lot of what I've been talking about. Okay, is you've got earnings and we had inflation. Okay, anytime you're getting more for your goods and services, all right, you're going to bring in more revenue, all right, and with that revenue, you can see you've got higher earnings. With higher earnings, guess what happens to the share price? Well, it goes up because it's worth more. It's making more earnings per share. The earnings are growing. So that was Meta. Now, Alan also shared the other one. Let's see if I can get that one open. And he shares Microsoft. Okay, again, the same deal with inflation. All right, it sucks for the consumer, but let me just say, for the companies, it's awesome. Okay, earnings per share 365 versus 337 expected. Nice. Revenue 76 billion versus 74 billion expected. I rounded that up. Okay, again, you got more revenue, you got more earnings per share, and hence you get a price jump, all right, for Microsoft and Meta. Okay, so nice going there, but that's exactly what happens with inflation. I know we can look around and look at each other and say inflation sucks. Yes, it does for the consumer, all right, but for the investor, let me just say, 18 months down the road, that stock is going to be worth more, all right? That's just the way it works because they're getting more for their goods and services, all right? They're getting more, all right? So they're charging more for their goods and services. So when you do that, you bring in more revenue, all right? As long as you don't lose the volume, all right? You want to continue with the same volume and get more for the same volume, and hence you bring in more revenue, then you get more earnings, and then you get a higher share price, and then you see the index grow, okay, because it's weighted inside that index, all right? So there you go for price action for Meta and Microsoft, okay? So see what else we got here. Wow, Meta, thanks, Gene, thank you. Jim did the same, thank you, Jim. And Robert made 2 daily goals on NVIDIA. Way to go, Robert. Chickened out, getting back in front of earnings tonight. Don't blame you, all right? 640 close tomorrow. You heard it here, LOL. All right. I like that, Jim. I'm all for that, 640. Heck, let's go to 643, all right, tomorrow night. Alan, made my goal after 16 hours with Meta and Microsoft pushing the market up. Finally. Way to go, Alan. Nice trade, all right? Congratulations to all the winners in the room today. We had a lot of winners. A lot of winners in the room today. I'm happy for all of you. Everybody have a wonderful afternoon. All right? I'll see you all tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And let's do it again, okay? Rinse and repeat, right? Rinse and repeat.